Hello everyone, thanks for joining us today and welcome to this educational presentation of 2 things you can do to immediately improve your trading. I'm going to share with you 2 techniques that are extremely simple but really can point you in the correct direction for any market you're trading, any direction, and virtually just any time frame. For example, let me share with you this chart that just happened this past couple of weeks ago, actually 2 or 3 weeks. This is Tiffany, and as you can see, someone just looking at this on site would say, well, there's no direction here. We're going sideways. We're basically in a range for the past 3 to 4 weeks. But with the techniques I'm going to be sharing with you today, you could have spotted a series of setups right here, here, and even here just weeks before this very large move that happened. And the entire time they were pointing the way that Tiffany was going to be headed higher. So this promises to be a great presentation today. You're going to learn a lot. I'm going to show you how everything can be accessed simply and easily on our new platform, the PTS Primo charting platform. Everything I'm going to be sharing with you can just be one click away. So it's really the trading educational portal we feel that students have been searching for. So welcome once again. My name is Steven Primo. I am the president and founder of Specialist Trading. And about 9 years ago, I teamed up with Pro Trader Strategies. And all we do is simply mentor and teach students around the world all the things that I've accumulated in my 41 years actually of trading. I started trading on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange roughly about 41 years ago. I was on the floor for 16 years, and 9 of those years I was a specialist. So that's where we get the title of Specialist Trading. The specialist doesn't mean you were any more special than any of the other traders. It just means that you specialized in making markets in roughly about 50 or 60 stocks. So if you wanted to buy or sell a particular issue, your floor broker had to go up to the trader who specialized in making a market. Now, I did that during the crash of 1987 and the bull market that followed. So I've made markets and traded just about every type of environment you can think of. Straight up, straight down markets, sideways markets. I've traded just about every system, every strategy, every technique you can think of. So I've gone through it all already for you. I've taken all the hard work out of it for you. So I know what works in terms of consistency and I know what doesn't. So therefore you don't have to waste, hopefully no longer than maybe a couple of months gathering all the information that it's taken me roughly 41 years to accumulate. So that's what we do. We teach all of our students around the world in over 115 countries in virtually every state in the United States, all the things that have shown high levels of consistency that mainly I currently use in my own personal trading as well. So I'm going to share with you 2 great techniques, 2 edges that you can start applying to your trading as early as Monday if you'd like. But before we begin, we're required by law first to show you this, so please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results, a lot of charts using these 2 specific edges, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the performance results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And please remember that all examples I'm about to share with you are strictly for educational purposes only. So as you're taking a brief moment to view our required disclaimer, I would also like to take this time to invite each and every one of you to follow us on Twitter. You may want to copy down our handle right there, abbreviation for Specialist Trading. I post different information on a daily basis, anywhere from signals that our strategies have generated to little bits of financial wisdom along the way. So feel free to follow us on Twitter. Now, as I stated in the opening statements of this presentation, we are a little bit different from other companies in that we are first and foremost an educational company. Our goal is not to force feed students signals and tell them what to buy or sell on a nightly basis. Our goal is not to promise you that you're going to retire in a couple of years or that we have a system that generates thousands of % gains per year. We don't believe in that because that's basically saying you don't know how to do anything and we'll do it for you. And that to me is a recipe for a disaster. The only way, in my opinion, one becomes a consistent, successful trader is by putting in the hard work, accumulating all the knowledge, and then making your own trading decisions. So as you can see here, my goal is not to trade for you. My goal is to teach you how to trade with a specialist edge. These are the same edges that were taught to me some 41 years ago and what I believe are the cornerstone to sustaining me for 4 decades plus. Hopefully they'll be able to do the same thing for you. So we are strictly and first and foremost an educational company with our only goal to teach you how to trade so that you can be in charge of your own trading destiny. Now, since this is an educational classroom today, I'm going to give you great information, but please ask that you wait till the end of the class to ask any questions. If we stop at every slide, we'll be here far too long for your Saturday morning. I don't want to start off your holiday weekend by taking up all of your Saturday morning. So let's wait till the end of class to ask any questions, and I promise I'll answer each and every one of them at that point. Now, the only question I will answer is the most common one, and that is this being recorded? Yes, it is. Many times students have technical issues. They can't see the screen or hear my voice. Oftentimes, it's just your internet connection. So if you log off and log back on, it'll usually correct itself. Or maybe you have to leave early. You can't stick around for the entire presentation. That's okay. We record all of our webinars, so if you have to leave early or you have technical issues, we will supply each and every one of you with a link to this recording, okay? So if you joined us late, we have a good crowd here today. Please wait till the end of class to ask any questions. All right, so let's begin. And let me just say right off the bat, you're going to be amazed if you're new to my presentations how simple it is to be a consistent trader. One of the things my mentors taught me was that it's not the complicated strategies or systems that lead you to that road of success. It's actually the opposite. It's the things that are the least complicated, the things that are the simplest that really have the most validity to them. So that's what we're trying to teach you. So just because something may seem simple or too easy doesn't mean it's not consistent. And these are the things that have allowed me to be trading for 41 plus years. So they must work. They're really consistent, but they're very, very simple. You'll be surprised how simple they are. All right, here's the first edge. If you get a buy signal, regardless of what the strategy is based on, regardless of what you're trading, the buy signal can only be entered above the 50-period simple moving average. This is what we call our buy-sell line, okay? Because we've just seen over time that if you enter a long signal, a buy signal, above the 50, you will have a higher level of consistency as opposed to buying below the 50-period. So as we look at this chart right here, someone would say, well, Steve, there's no particular trend. We're just kind of going down, back up, back down. But in all actuality, there is a trend, because if you add the 50-period moving average or the buy-sell line, you always ask yourself, where is price in relation to that? And as you can see here, price is above. And so that means if you get a buy signal, regardless of what you're trading, that means you're in sync with the overall trend. And therefore, the overall trend is up. You never want to trade against the overall trend, because that will lower your odds for consistency. So even though you might get a perfect buy signal below, over time, you really won't have a lot to show for it. So we're trying to have a numbers game here so that over time, you'll have high levels of consistency instead of one or two great trades, but the majority of them you give back with losses. Now, conversely, if you have a sell signal, your sell signal obviously can only be entered below the 50-period simple moving average, or our buy-sell line. Remember, the odds will be in your favor that you will have higher levels of consistency if you're in sync with the overall trend. And most people look at a chart such as this and they say, well, there is no trend. We're just in a range. But if you add the 50-period moving average, you'll see that price is actually below. So what is that telling you? It's telling you the overall trend is down. Do we want to buy in an overall trend? No, we only want to be a seller in an overall downtrend. So the buy-sell line of the 50-period moving average is telling us what side of the market to be on, where our bias should be, bullish or bearish, okay? Right off the bat, just with this simple tool that you can start using on Monday, or Tuesday, I should say. Monday we're closed, but you can go back and research it today. You'll see the high levels of consistency you'll have with your trading. All right, so that's the first edge. Let's go on to the second edge. Now that we know what the overall trend should be, we need to add a little structure. All right, we can't just say, okay, well, do I buy once something is above the 50, or do I sell at the market once price closes below? No, that's just a tool to tell you what side of the market to be on. We still need to add a little structure. We need to build a boat in order to sail on the ocean. Here's how we do it. Buy signal bars must close in the top 25% of their range. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, every strategy, every system has a signal bar or a setup bar. That's where all the rules come into play, and you finally decide that this is a buy, or where everything, all the requirements are met, and you finally decide that this is a sell. It makes no difference what it's based on. Once again, it could be based on the full moon, could be based on interest rates. It makes no difference, but there's always a bar where everything comes together. That's your signal bar. Let's say your strategy generates a buy signal, okay, and all the rules come together and everything meets, and on this particular bar, it must close in the top quarter of its range. So let me show you what we mean by that. Let's say this is the bar, okay? What you want to do is divide it by 4 separate and equal parts, and you must close in that top quarter. This is your indication to buy, okay? You will have a higher level of consistency if you only buy on this type of bar. So let's say your strategy generates a buy signal, but the bar closes towards the low of the bar. You don't want to buy then, because that's the market. That's the actual market telling you most likely it's going to be going lower for the short term, even if you're above the 50. So what we want to do is wait for that first bar that closes in the top quarter of its 25% of its range. For example, we are right here looking at the same generic chart, but we now realize the overall trend is up. And what do we have? We have 2 bars that close in the top 25%. And look at what happened after this one. We went higher after that. Okay, not that much, but for all you know, these are monthly bars. You could have had 6 months of sustained higher growth. And then you had another bar that closed in the top 25%, and this time it really went up. So see how the odds are in your favor when you're above the 50 period moving average and you only use bars that close in the top 25% of their range as your setup bar. Now the reverse is true if you want to go short. Let's say your strategy generates a sell signal. Well, if that bar closes in the bottom 25% of its range, then that's a valid setup bar to go short. For example, we look at this generic bar right here. All you want to do is divide it by 4 separate equal parts. And if your strategy generates a sell signal, say it's based on some earnings report, this bar must close in the bottom 25%. That is your indication to sell. That's a valid setup bar. So once again, we can look at this generic chart here. We see that the overall trend is down. Why? Because we're below the 50 period moving average. And we have a bar here that closes in the bottom 25%. Let's say your strategy generates a sell signal. Well, you don't want to sell when it closes up here, because look what happened. You had 3 bars of upward movement. Here is the first bar that closed in the bottom 25%. So that's the bar you go short on. That's the bar you buy the puts, and it's off to the races. See, the markets are always telling you what they want to do. But for some reason, we've never been trained to listen to the market. We're always trained to listen to some guy on TV, some chat room, some trading room, some report about what the institutions are doing, but we're never focusing on what the chart in front of us is telling us. My mentors taught me the same thing. They said, Steve, you're focusing too much on interest rates. You're focusing too much on news, on what some guy is saying in a newsletter. Just learn how to listen to the market. And I said, well, how do you do that? And they said, we'll teach you by showing you these edges, or these very simple tools. And these are the same things I teach all of my students. All right, so let's look at some recent examples of how these 2 edges could really point the way for some either up moves or down moves in the market. And then I'll share with you how they formulated one of our most consistent strategies. Now, we started out by looking at Tiffany. Remember, it looked as if we were just going sideways. So how could anyone know to buy this stock? Well, what's the first thing we do? First thing we do, and if you're lucky enough to have our platform, we'll show you how simple it is. You click on the buy-sell line here in the upper green strategy tab, where all of our strategies, all of our techniques and trading methods are placed. You click on buy-sell line. A drop-down menu appears, and we have different features in which to view the buy-sell line. Let's click on the most basic, which is the 50-period moving average. Once you click that on, the average automatically appears, and now you ask yourself, where has price been in relation to that moving average? Well, for the entire month, it's been above, all right, from April 26th all the way up until the 22nd of May. So why would anyone think that there's no trend here? The overall trend is saying it's going higher. Even though, you know, some report or some guy in a chat room is saying there's nothing going on with this stock, there's no movement, there's no volume, the overall trend is up. So right off the bat, you know you shouldn't be shorting this stock. There's no reason to, or if you're long, you shouldn't be selling it, even though there's been no action. It's telling you that it still has a bias upward mode, so you still want to be long this stock if you're already long, or if you're thinking about buying it, it's okay because the overall trend is up. Now, the second thing you can do is click on our top bottom 25%. This automatically identifies the bars that close in the top bottom 25%. And as you can see here, these 3 arrows generated bars that closed in the top. And then look what happened in the following days, okay? You see, It's that simple once you know how to listen to the market. Here's another example in OC. Once again, not much clear direction here, kind of going sideways to upwards a little bit. Maybe there's an upward bias. Maybe this is bottomed out right here. Well, maybe you're not listening to the market. All you have to do is click on buy sell line, click on the 50 period, and where is price closing in relation to the 50 period? All the bars are closing below. So is this an opportunity for a buy? No, we're only going to be a seller of this. The odds will be in our favor if all of our entries are to the downside. Now, if you don't like to go short, if you don't like to buy puts, if you don't like to use some type of spread strategy to the downside, then stay away from this and look for a stock that's above its 50. It's that simple. Move on to the next one. But if you're interested in this and you've been following it, let's say your strategy generates a sell signal, well, it would have been as simple as clicking on the top bottom 25%, clicking on the signal arrows, and as you can see, we closed in the bottom 25%. So what is the market telling us? It's telling us the overall trend is down, and on the short term, a bar is closing at the bottom of its range, telling us that most likely we're going to continue lower on the short term. And as you can see, the stock dropped 6 points in the next 2 days. So these two edges are extremely simple, and especially when you have our platform, you see how easy they are to access. But at the same time, they're extremely powerful. Why are they so powerful? Because they make up two of the rules to one of our best strategies. So you can either add these two edges to your current trading method, and we feel that they will increase your odds for consistency even more, or you can build a strategy based on them. So that's what my mentors did. They based a strategy that they taught me some 41 years ago that I continue to use on a daily basis. And the first two rules, guess what, are the two rules I just shared with you. The strategy only has 5 rules, and I just gave you 2 of those. And this strategy is strategy number 4. Now let me just go forward, share with you some recent strategy number 4 setups using these 2 rules, and you'll see them, how powerful they are, and how you could have taken advantage of them. COP generated a buy signal in beginning to mid-April. We're above the 50 period moving average, and we closed in the top 25%, and 7 quick points coming into the middle to the end of April. All right. How about WYN? Well, we have a little bit more advanced setup here where the majority of the bars are closing below. We have one bar close above. The second bar opens above, but then closes below, and then a third bar closes below as well. So for all intents and purposes, even though we had a little bit of oscillating above here, these are still 2 valid sell signals. They're below the 50 period, and we're in the bottom 25%. And then these are the first 2 rules of strategy number 4. I can't give you all the remaining 3 rules, but trust me, the people that are part of the course, they could verify that these are valid strategy number 4 sell setups, and the stock fell 9 points. Now, many times you'll get some really great setups very close to the 50 period moving average. As you can see, we started to sell off. Then we have 2 bars. As we touch the 50, we have 2 bars closing in the top 25% above the 50. And so these are great pullback setups for strategy 4, and a 10-point gain was generated. Then as the stock pulls back, you see we have a number of bars closing in the bottom 25% as we go lower and lower, but we are still above the 50, so we're not going to be selling. We're only looking for buy setups, and here is the first bar that closed above the 50 and on the top 25% range. A buy signal was generated using the other 3 requirements of the strategy, and 10 more points to the upside. This was in VRSN. Now here, it's obvious to see in letter D, you had nothing but sell signals. Now, the only trouble is most traders do the opposite. They will say, well, Steve, this thing is so oversold, you have to buy it. I mean, look, we had a gap down and we went lower for the next 2-3 weeks. And so it looked like we hit some major support here. So this is a major buy, right? Well, how high did it bounce? Not very much before it made new lows. At this point, you say, well, all the institutions are coming in. This class I spent $10,000 on that studies what the institutions are doing, and the volume said that this is a major bottom here. You have to buy. It's a major support. Well, how well did that support hold? Okay. You see, that's overcomplicating your trading. What's the first thing we teach you? First thing we teach you is to apply the buy-sell line, which is the 50 period moving average. And all you have to do is ask yourself, where is price in relation to that buy-sell line? Well, we knew as far back as December last year that price was below. So there's no reason in the world you should be listening to anyone or any system or any institution or anything telling you to buy this, because the market's telling you you should not be buying this. You should either be on the sidelines or looking for selling opportunities. If you were so inclined to go short, well, all of these sell setups were bars that closed below the 50 and in their bottom 25%. So those are the first two rules of strategy number 4. See, trading is really simple when you let go or release all of this, what my mentors called noise, useless noise. All the things that are supposed to have validity but really don't, and they don't have any high levels of consistency. You may get 1 or 2 good trades here every once in a while, but mostly it's like the slot machines. You have 1 or 2 good winners, but if you stay long enough, you see that you've lost everything. You don't really have anything to show for it because the game is designed that way. They're the worst odds in the whole casino. Well, trading against the buy-sell line is the worst odds as well because you're trading against the overall trend. How about this example in HRS? You can just as well have numerous cluster of buy signals to the upside. Each one of these buy signals was generated above the 50-period moving average, and each one closed in the top 25%. These are the 2 edges that I shared with you today, and they make up the cornerstone of strategy number 4. Now here's a perfect example of why traders don't like to use the buy-sell line. They'll say, well, Steve, okay, I applied the 50-period moving average and we're below, but look what happened. The entire time we're below the 50, we kept going higher and higher. I missed a great buying opportunity. Well, sure, as I stated, every once in a while there will be some great buying opportunities below a 50-period moving average. As well, there may be some great selling opportunities above a 50-period moving average. But remember, it's all about consistency. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So let's say at this point you had decided that we were going higher, so you decided to buy right here. And you're very proud of yourself because you went against the buy-sell line and you said, that stuff that Steven Primo teaches doesn't work. I still made money buying below. Okay, so you're buying right here, but if you were a student of mine, you would have stayed out of this on the buy side and taken this sell signal and been able to reap all of these profits to the downside if you chose to. So most likely you would have given back all of your profit and probably taken a loss. So this is why it pays to be more in line with the overall trend. Sure, you may have some nice upward movement, but the consistency is in your favor if you're in sync with the overall trend. And then you would have potentially been able to capture 23 points. Now here's what we call a cluster of setups. Now this is PSX. This happened in the beginning to mid of April. As we can see, the majority of bars were below the 50-period moving average, but we had 1, 2, and then 3 that closed above, and they all closed in the top 25% of their range. So the first 2 rules were met. The remaining rules of the strategy were also met. So these all turned into valid buy signals. Even though nothing happened really in those 3 days, there was a cluster of buy signals. Many times, it's not guaranteed, but many times we see clusters like this, almost as if the market is coiling, getting ready to spring into action. And as you can see, what happened coming into the end of the month, the stock gained 16 points in the last 2 weeks. We can also see a cluster to the downside. Now we are well below the 50-period moving average in BIIB, but we got 2 sell signals, both closing in the bottom 25%, and the stock still went down 34 points coming into mid-April. And then Netflix. We know there's a lot of traders in Netflix. At the beginning of last month, the stock was really selling off, but when it was selling off, where was price in relation to the 50-period moving average? Price was still higher. So there's no reason you would have taken this as a sell signal. Remember, we're only applying this to look for buy setups. So here was our first buy signal. We closed above the 50 and in the top 25% of its range. And look what happened. The stock went up 40 points after that. We realized Netflix is an expensive stock. You could have purchased calls or some type of spread strategy or sold puts, whatever you wanted to do. Here's another cluster, but so far nothing has really happened. We've been below the 50 period, but we have a cluster of 2 sell signals. Now here's what's interesting about this. These sell signals and these 2 rules which I taught you today are in the diamonds. That's the ETF that represents the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So many of our students like to apply this to indices, or I like to apply these rules to ETFs that represent a certain list of stocks or issues within that indice or within those ETFs. That way they can use this as a market directional tool. So even though you're not maybe going short the diamonds or selling that stock or buying puts on it, you're looking at it to tell you which direction the market may be going. So this obviously, if we're generating two sell signals in the diamonds, which represents the Dow Jones, isn't it most likely telling us that the market's going to go lower? And as you can see, within the next couple of weeks, the diamonds fell 17 points, and that transferred over to over 1,700 points in the Dow. So once again, you don't have to use it to actually trade. You can use these as directional tools. If you get a buy signal, let's say in the spiders, or a sell signals in the diamonds or the Russell 2000, most likely they're going to give you a direction of the market. So before you start asking me questions, let's recap so we can just make sure that you totally understand this process. Remember, use these two edges. The first edge is the 50-period simple moving average. I don't care if you trade commodities. I don't care if you trade Bitcoin or if you trade currency pairs or intraday futures. It makes no difference. You should always have a 50-period moving average plotted on your chart. This is the buy-sell line. This is what I was taught some 41 years ago, and this is the one tool I would not leave home without. If I were stranded on a desert island, and I could only use one tool, this is the one I would use because it has kept me out of so much trouble and really helped me to become consistent. Why? Because it tells me which side of the fence to be on. It tells me whether I should be looking at the market from a seller's point of view or whether I should be looking at the market from a buyer's point of view. And guess what? It doesn't cost anything. You can start using this right away. Every platform has a 50-period moving average. You simply have to remember to always have it plotted. So if you're looking at a 5-minute bar of the E-mini futures, or if you're looking at a monthly bar of Facebook, it makes no difference. Have a 50-period moving average always on your chart there. And you know what? If you're still not convinced, go back and look at your last 10, 20 trades. Most likely you lost or you had some losses because you were out of sync with this rule. You're most likely buying below the 50 or selling above. Now that we know what side of the fence to be on, we want to add a little structure. So now it brings us to our second edge, which is the top bottom 25% rule, okay? If you happen to get a buy setup, regardless of what strategy it is, just make sure that that bar closes in the top 25%. So let's say you like to base your strategy off of fundamental news, off of earnings. And so you're watching a stock and then the earnings come out and you think they're pretty good, all right? So look at the bar. Where did it close? If it did not close in the top 25% of its range, do not buy it yet. Wait for that first bar to close in the top 25% of its range to get in. You'll have a higher level of consistency on the trade or on your strategy, okay? And then finally, we showed you how simple it is to access all of this information simply by using our new platform, the PTS Primo charting platform. We designed this specifically to keep it as simple as possible. Sure, you can do this on whatever platform you have there. You'll have to make sure you have a 50-period simple moving average plotted, and you'll have to divide each and every bar by 4 separate but equal parts to make sure it closes either in the top or bottom 25% of its range. It's not that difficult to do. With a little practice, you can see that in any bar. It gets a little bit difficult if you're trading intraday. But we took all that out of, all the difficulty out for you, because with our new platform, it's as simple as a click away. We automatically identify, the top bottom 25% bars, and we automatically plot the 50-period simple moving average for you. So ask yourself, as we go into the final portion of this presentation, do you think these edges could have helped your trading this past year? I can almost guarantee that you're already looking at some of your past trades and you're saying to yourself, boy, this stuff could have helped me. Maybe it would have worked a little bit had I known this earlier. Well, we have a great offer for all the people attending today. You've heard me talk about this before. We're really excited about our platform, the PTS Primo charting platform. I designed this with Pro Trader Strategies. It has 41 years of education of things that I've accumulated, all packed in very simply to one educational portal. It teaches traders how to trade. We're going to offer you a 30-day trial for only $7, okay? You're going to get so much included in this, what I've accumulated in my 4 decades of trading, for only $7. Let me show you what's involved in this attendee discount, all right? You're going to get our enhanced buy-sell line that automatically will give you 4 different features for looking at the buy-sell line, where you can either put the 50-period moving average or have the back of the screen colored, as you see here in the examples here, to tell you whether you should be buying or selling. And that's all included with the top bottom 25% feature. It's one click away, and you'll see automatically all the bars that close in the top 25% of the range and all of them that close in the bottom 25. So you don't have to do the work. We've taken it out for you. We're also going to include a trading strategy. This is one of our best strategies, strategy 3A, for capturing those strong trends. In fact, it was specifically designed to capture those long trends. So if you're the type of trader that wants to get the most bang for your buck, strategy 3A is a great strategy. It comes once again with the drop-down menu, where all you have to do is click on the arrow alert, and it will show you where the buy and sell setups are. With the platform, we also include 90 of the most popular technical indicators. So if you like to use other indicators to experiment with or to research, they're all easily accessible. And we also have a scanner, so you can scan on a nightly basis for top bottom 25%. You can also scan for signals for the next day for strategy 3A. So you'll know a day in advance where these setups are. But even though we have a technical bias, we realize that most of our information is coming from a technical point of view. We understand that many of you still like to focus on fundamental news. That's fine. It's not our job to tell you how to trade. It's simply our job to educate you. So if you like to have fundamental news as it's happening, guess what? We supplied you with free Bloomberg TV, which is on our platform. There's a special media tab you click on, and you will see a small window up here that you can enlarge or minimize to your liking that has live Bloomberg TV. Any information coming out about fundamental news or any type of economic report or earnings report, it's right there live as you're watching your screen. So this is also included in the $7 trial offer. And then lastly, this comes with personalized tech support. If you have any issues accessing any chart or you don't understand something, we have great tech support, and we can resolve your issues in a matter of moments. So this is all included. 41 years of education and things that have taken me to accumulate and learn and see how consistent they are, for 30 days for only $7. Okay, I often state this if I have this offer on a weekend, that if you go out to breakfast on a Saturday morning, you're going to spend a lot more than just $7. But here you have tons of information that'll last you a good 30 days for only $7. So it's a great way to get acquainted with us. It's a great way to learn things you've never heard about, and it's a great way to really get your trading back on track. Here's how to take advantage of this. All right, you can contact my sister site, who I developed the platform with, Pro Trader Strategies. You can either email them or call them directly at area code 310-598-6677. Or probably the best thing to do would be simply to click on that tab at the very bottom, that link. That takes you to the $7 sign-up page. And as you can see, a much easier way to access that is to go in the chat box on the right-hand corner here, the GoToWebinar column. You see under chat, if you open up that box there, there's a live link that's been posted. That's live, and that will take you right to the page that has the $7 sign up, okay? So I'm going to leave this on the screen here. As I promised, I'll reserve the last 10 or 15 minutes for any questions that you may have. James says, I've learned something. Thank you. You're more than welcome, James. Remember, we're an educational company, and I think where we differ a little bit from other companies is that, we don't just try to, give you a little tease in our presentations and say, well, in order to really get the full knowledge here, you have to buy this $1,000 program or this system. We don't believe in that. We really want to educate you. So even if you decide to not become a part of our platform offer, you've still gotten some education you can take home with you. That's our credo. We want to educate you. That's our philosophy. The concept behind everything we do at Pro Trader Strategies and Specialist Trading is to educate you as traders. So you can see in good faith we're trying to educate you. Even if you decide not to come on board with us, you still get to walk away at the end of this presentation with some information that we really feel can be of some value to you. So thank you. I'm glad you did learn something. Some other people are asking, what happens after 30 days? Well, you have the choice to continue or not to. It's entirely up to you. You're not locked in. You simply have to let us know if you want to continue or not. I believe the price, some people are asking about what is the price after that. I believe the price goes to $97. But even in the grand scheme of things, if you look at some of these platforms, I have paid upwards of $300 a month for some platforms, so this is still relatively very inexpensive. $97 per month is still very good for all the complete works of everything in the platform. And remember, we also have specials from time to time on different strategies. Also, because I have a number upwards of 8, 9, 10 strategies altogether. So there's lots of different methods and techniques to learn, and you can become a part of our course. And maybe if you contact Pro Trader Strategies, they'll put in some type of discount for you to get all that information linked together, okay? Great questions. You're welcome. More than happy to give you some information. My suggestion, some people are asking about the 2 edges. Here's my suggestion on how to do this. If you're really not convinced yet, or you don't know if this is right for you, this is a short offer that lasts for the next couple of days, but go back and look at your last 10 or 20 trades and see if this could have helped. See if you would have gotten a better entry by using the 25% bar or the to a buy signal or to a sell signal. Or see if you could have kept out of trouble by applying the 50-period moving average. I can almost say that it would have improved your odds for consistency tremendously if you applied these 2 edges to your last 10 or 20 trades, okay? So go back and do the research, see if it would have helped you, and I'm confident that you'll say that, boy, this stuff really works, and come on board, take advantage of this $7 offer. Trust me, if you go out to fast food restaurant for lunch this afternoon, I'm sure you're going to spend way more than $7 if you just buy a hamburger alone. So this is 30 days for over 40 years of information for only $7, okay? Once again, that's the phone number if you're having any more questions concerning the platform. There's no obligation. Feel free to contact Pro Trader Strategies. You can call them or send them an email. And if you're ready to sign up, take that $7 offer, just click on the link in the chat box and you can sign up online, okay? I want to thank you so much for attending today. Thank you for taking time out of your Saturday. I hope you all have a great holiday weekend, and I look forward to all of you becoming students of mine at the new PTS Primo charting platform. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.